You're listening to the Youth Critic Podcast on KHZ Network. Find us on Facebook at DecibelUNG Radio and find us on Twitter at DecibelUNG. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment on our iTunes page at KHZ Network.
And I catch what falls out of the sky.
And now for the podcast.
What's on the ship?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Critic Podcast. I'm your host, Kel Smith. Joining me today is Gene Aversa.
Hey, good to be back.
And also with us is Patrick Campbell.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be back in beautiful brown-skied Los Angeles. I still can't breathe. And we're about to talk about one of the worst movies of the year. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
And I'm here in wet, moist, humid. Maybe a rainstorm will happen during this podcast, Georgia. We get to So before we get to the Predator, very quickly, I wanted to talk a little bit about Captain Marvel since that dropped today, or this morning as we're recording the podcast. I really like the trailer. It looks very Tomorrowland, stylistically, it looks very Tomorrowland, New York Deco kind of style. Mm-hmm. But real quickly, what are your guys' thoughts on it before we move on to the Predator?
It was a very solid trailer for me. I was very impressed by it. Captain Marvel was I was a little I wouldn't say iffy on it, but some of it was when I was first hearing news where it's like we're going to reuse Ronin and all these Guardians characters. I was concerned that it didn't have its own identity to it, but that's certainly not the case. It seems like from watching this trailer, and it was just really cool seeing Nick Fury with two eyes.
Yeah, I love seeing Nick Fury looking just like his character from the Triple X movies.
Oh
yeah.
That's like kind of like Nick Fury, but then that's not Nick Fury.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No,
what
is that character?
What is the character's name? I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna have to look.
You're the expert here, Patrick, on that.
Of Triple X movies. That sounded so bad. Of the Triple X franchise, yeah, I actually really enjoy those movies. I really like that character actually, and minus the scars on his face, he looks nearly identical. To be honest.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by it.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a really good trailer.
I liked the trailer a lot. I thought that it perfectly set the tone of being set in the 90s by opening it on a blockbuster, but without winking and nudging at the audience. But it perfectly captures that time frame, and 90s? Definitely made me nostalgic for the 90s because I'm a 90s kid. I was born and lived through the 90s, and I still have much respect for that time and that generation. And
it's a different time period, man.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and it showed, and I like that they're really playing up that angle of, is she human, is she alien, what exactly is it?
Yeah, I really like the trailer. I like it more stylistically than anything because there's not, again, it's a teaser. We don't know too much about it. But yeah, I'm into it, and I'm glad that we got the trailer out already, get the word out. Although it's still kind of hilarious to me that, a Captain Marvel trailer came out before a Dark Phoenix trailer. That's pretty funny to me. That's pretty funny to me, but yeah, and also it kind of signals that maybe we'll get the Infinity War trailer sooner than we think. Maybe not this month or October, but we'll get it in November, hopefully.
I could see a world where it might be attached to Mary Poppins Returns because that movie is going to make all the money after yesterday's trailer drop.
I would think so, but who knows? Because I mean, like I was saying earlier, there's 15 movies coming out between November.
Mary Poppins is bulletproof. There's few things in this world that I'm sure of, and Mary Poppins is bulletproof. The reactions to that trailer are going to push that movie over $1 billion.
I hope so.
I am telling you that right now. That movie is going to be a $1 billion hit.
Yeah, all that nostalgia, I could definitely see that.
I mean, that trailer, dude, I'm not even that big into Mary Poppins. I love it because I love Julie Andrews and I love Dick Van Dyke. It's not my favorite of the live action Disney movies, but I would be lying to you if that movie didn't hit every nostalgic button I didn't even know I had and made me want to cry. It was so good. That trailer is fantastic. That is one of the best trailers of the year. That's on the level of Fallout in the first Fallout trailer. That's how good that thing was. So, yeah, I'm just sitting here waiting for Mary Poppins to be the $1 billion juggernaut that's about to crush everything in its path. If I was WB, I would be moving Aquaman really quickly.
Yeah. And same for Alita. Mortal Engines. Welcome to Marwen maybe should get a limited release at Christmas, and then open in January. I don't know. December. I was looking at it yesterday, and I was just losing my mind because there's just so many movies coming out in 1 month.
December may be one of the first times that we've seen the cannibalization of all the movies around us, and for the first time in a long time.
God, yeah, that's why. I think you're right that Mary Poppins will be a success. I don't know if it'll be a $1 billion success, though.
I think it's going to have the legs that we saw Greatest Showman have, but to a much higher extent, and the same thing with Jumanji. People count out the fact that movies that come out at Christmas disappear real quickly, and last year that was not the case. If this movie is as powerful as it looks with fans, with the critics, that movie is going to just chug along all the way. There's not a lot coming out in January at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just going to chug along like no one's business and crush everything in its path.
Yeah. Aquaman, maybe you should move to January, maybe February, so we can, hey, take Dark Phoenix spot, because, who knows? Hey, take Dark Phenix's spot. You might have a spot in February, chance in February. I'm just kind of looking at everything, and I'm just going, oh my God, how am I going to see all these movies at Christmas?
We should probably stop talking about Dark Phoenix, though. I don't want you to get a cease and desist on your podcast, Gail.
Oh,
if you what a dick move by Fox.
Gosh, yeah. I'm sure I'll be okay. I'm sure me and Jordan will I'm sure me and Jordan will somehow figure our way out of it. It'll just be me emailing Jordan to get and us having a good laugh over it. Anyway, The Predator, a movie that will probably not get me or this podcast, banned from iTunes.
It could if I tried really, really hard.
Gene, why don't you take it? Because I know Patrick's been the most vocal, but go ahead and take The Predator, and then I'll go last.
Sure. You're more middle ground now?
You go ahead.
Okay. That was for what it was, I enjoyed The Predator. I had a good time watching it. I certainly enjoyed it than any other Predator sequel. I rewatched Predator 2 recently, and I was like, oh, not very good, as much as I remember it. But The Predator, I think it was maligned in the third act, for sure, and all the behind the scenes of it is disappointing. But I feel as a film, if you kind of shut your brain off, I don't think it's there's a lot of ideas in the first 10 minutes and stuff being introduced, but I don't think it's I don't know, Patrick, did you say it was Suicide Squad level bad, like editing wise.
Editing wise, yes.
I mean, you
I'll
don't.
get to it. I'll
I
tell
mean,
you why.
I don't know if it's like for me. I don't think it's that bad because you don't have two characters that are introduced twice, like Harley Quinn and
No, but it does other things that are equally
yeah.
as bad, like the random fucking pit bull that we're supposed to try to use to connect with Jacob Tremblay, who disappears to reappear, to disappear, to reappear again.
And then he gets
Just to
replaced by
fucking
another dog.
disappear again.
He gets
Like,
replaced by another dog.
This movie. Okay, I'm sorry, Gene. I'm talking over you. Continue.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, besides some like continuity stuff, I mostly enjoyed it. Like if I shut my brain off and didn't think about a lot of stuff, I had a good time. And I mean, it's not until the third act that ending was where things I felt didn't suit the movie at all. But it was a good time,
Literally
and
suit the movie.
Yeah, spoilers, folks. Spoilers.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, and all the morbid humor. I was like, why isn't this been in another Predator movie? Like all the like kind of the dark humor of the movie was really appreciated. So I enjoyed it.
Patrick, go ahead.
Boy, Gene, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
You're a good friend.
Yeah.
You're fucking crazy. This movie is a mess.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that this was a big budget studio blockbuster because everything about this movie doesn't work in just about every way. Not a single character motivation stays the same or works throughout the movie. Everything about it falls apart by the time you get to the third act. And the third act is easily one of the worst finales in a big budget movie in at least a decade. I can't believe that they actually put this in theaters. It has such a likable cast, and yet every single one of them is squandered for the most part. Olivia Munn is horribly miscast. Horribly. Like, we're talking about World's Not Enough, Denise Richards style bad casting.
Christmas Jones?
This is on the level of Christmas Jones for me. And I'm not saying this hyperbolically. I love the Predator franchise, and this is arguably the worst film to feature a Predator outside of AVP Requiem.
Wow.
And that breaks my heart because I love Shane Black and I love the Alien, like I love the Predator. I love everything about this. This movie was one of my most anticipated of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to shut down every negative report I was hearing. I tried to push back on the stuff going on with the reshoots. I didn't want to believe it was as bad as I was hearing. And then I saw the movie and I understood immediately. It took the movie 7 minutes to fully throw me out of the film and never recover.
Oh.
And every time it tried, it would veer another direction, which was less interesting. One of the things about the original Predator that works so well is the first time you see all those guys working together, you get a feeling of who those characters are by the time the movie really starts going. It tells us everything without saying too much. This movie doesn't try to tell us anything and never gives us the time to know the characters, and so it never works. And that's the most frustrating thing, is that these are very good actors that could be very interesting characters. And I love the dynamic. I love the idea of these suicidal, expendable type characters who are just like, they've been through some stuff and now they're like, but maybe we can be better than the thing that we are. But you never take the time to explore it. The stuff with Thomas Jane and Keegan-Michael Key is arguably what could have been the most emotional and awesome part of the film, and it's completely void of any of that. Like, you spend one scene all of a sudden where he's crying in the corner and you never explain it. We never spend time with them. And that, for me, is the most frustrating part about it, is that we never get time with these characters enough to give a shit. So why should I care if you're dying? This also arguably has one of the worst deaths of any main character in anything.
Oh, boy.
Because when you look at what Sterling K. Brown's character, he's basically killed off screen. If you're not paying attention, you wouldn't even know he's dead.
Right.
This whole movie is such a mess that it breaks my fucking heart. It hurts.
Okay.
It hurts how badly that I don't like a Shane Black movie that has the Predator in it. And here's my, like, this movie legitimately goes out of its way to be like, oh, Olivia Munn is this great scientist thing, and she loves science and stuff.
Mhm.
And she's like, we need to protect the predator dog because I want to study it. I want to protect it. Be a science experiment. I don't want it to die. Let's take care of this thing. Only for her to lock it up in a truck and leave it to die next to the predator when it arms the explosion. The fuck are you doing? Like, none of us love this movie. But the more that we explore the predators, the less interesting they become. And the less we keep trying to do stuff like this, the less interesting it becomes. And I'm at the point where, honestly, maybe we should just fucking end the series. Because I just have no patience for them trying to continue doing anything with Predator when the only thing they want to do is turn it into a superhero movie.
Okay. All right.
I was very passionate about that.
No, this is great. This is going to be awesome, especially after I do my spiel. Okay, so 3 big things first. And I actually tweeted about this part. If you are like my friend Nick Brisby, who showed up like a few minutes late, you're going to miss so much shit. I mean, so much fucking happens in the first like 2 minutes of this movie. It's unfucking believable. I mean, oh my god! Like, I mean, I was okay with it. I was like, wow. I hope everyone got in on time. Hope everybody comes in. I mean, I was literally even texting my friend, "You are missing so much right now, and you are and you're just now walking in the theater.
You're missing so much exposition."
Well, you're missing so much because I mean, in the first minute, you are thrust into a space battle. Then one of the spaceships goes through a portal to Earth, then crashes on Earth, and then we cut to Quinn McKenna, who is at the Mexican border stopping a drug deal.
Is it a Mexican border? I figured they were in a third world country. See, that's how little this movie does anything.
I was so confused.
I figured that they were in like South America, Costa Rica, like.
Yeah, I assume that.
A very like I thought it was wasn't the Mexican border, because that makes me even more agitated because now I'm like, wait, what is even this movie?
Yeah, and the second thing is
I'm confused.
Yeah. And the second thing is, while I can speak to this because I am an autistic person, well, I'm happy that autism is now becoming a thing in Hollywood movies, like in The Accountant and Power Rangers.
Right.
I'm kind of dubious of movies where they make autism like a superpower or a magic power, where we can solve any screenwriting problem. And it's not that I'm offended by that. It's more of a like, you're lazy in that you're basically using an exceptionality, something that's on the spectrum. You're using that to basically get through your shitty script as an excuse.
Yeah.
And for me, so go ahead.
Like all the savantism.
Yeah. Which look, that's fine. Like I know.
Fair,
Go ahead.
I was just going to be fair, the script was not nearly as badly as it edited it.
Right, but I mean,
and, like, in the defense of Shane Black on this, because I agree with you full-heartedly. This version, the movie that was not written this way. It was edited into this. That's what pisses me off, because he's really the hero.
Yeah, and look, it's 10-year-old me would have. Yeah, and 10-year-old me would have really liked this movie because of Rory. But there's just a part of me that's like, I can just see the mechanics, the wheels turning, and the screenwriters, and they're just using an exceptionality to basically get through their script that they haphazardly came up with.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I mean, and I think, Gene, Diego and Matt talked about this on the Waffle Press retrospective.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot more to the script. There was a lot more development. There was a lot more things fleshed out, and things in the third act got redone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's one of those things where it's frustrating to see this and go, is it really representation if it's lazy screenwriting, or is it really, or should I care either way? Like, I kind of have mixed feelings about this, and that's not really how I really wanted to feel about The Predator, because, yeah.
Well, that's the whole movie at the end of the day, unfortunately, though. It's just a lot of mixed feelings. None of it ever comes together in any sort of way.
Right.
And I think that's why I got so frustrated watching it, because it's one thing to be like, we made a mediocre movie. Fine, whatever, like, fuck it. We've had mediocre Alien movies. We've had mediocre Predator movies. It's another thing to just, like, bastardize the property. And, like, I get what Gene is saying, where it's like, turn off your brain and enjoy it. But here's my thing. I don't want to have to turn off my brain to try to enjoy it. I want to actually enjoy it. And I don't want to have to just pretend that nothing's wrong with it. And I'm not saying that's what Gene is saying, but that's what so many people use that term to be, where it's like, well, what, you can't just have fun with the movie? Well, no, I can't when your characters are so poorly fucking written that I can't get behind them.
Right. And my third thing is, and this will pretty much shock everybody. Patrick, we talked about last week on The Nun how, the craziest thing that could happen on this podcast is I give this an A and you give this a D. Well, here's the crazy part. I'm not giving this movie an A, but I am actually going to recommend this movie.
All right, this is the part where I rage quit the podcast, right?
Yeah,
I guess so.
Here's my thing. Here's my defense. It is a messy movie, no doubt about it. Like, it is a mess from beginning to end. There are plot details that if you blink, you'd miss it. Mm-hmm. Sterling King Brown's death is like it's unintentionally hilarious.
I laughed.
How quick.
I was laughing on that.
I mean, I was laughing so hard in the theater because it really has no payoff.
No.
Like, I mean, when you have a scene where two people are going to say, after this whole shit thing, and I'm paraphrasing, after this whole shit thing, we're going to go, you and I are going to dance. And then the other character says, I already have my dancing shoes picked out. The payoff should be that these two people are going to kill each other. Not this random, like, shoehorned in, split second, Olivia Munn shoot the fucking guy out in the span of, like, 3 frames. Or less, which is unbelievable because Sterling K. Brown is like one of the best like character actors working, and he gets like not even like a nothing death, just like, oh, you died. Okay, good. We wrapped that up. Like, it's that kind of death. But with that said, though, you said, Patrick, the first 7 minutes lost you.
No, after the first 7 minutes.
Okay.
I love the first 7 minutes. It's everything after that loses me.
After the first 7 minutes, I think I realized, oh, wait. Regardless of what the original cut was supposed to be, Shane Black and Fred Dekker basically wanted to make a B movie or a sci-fi original movie, but do it on a high budget and with production value versus,
I don't feel that's what we got though.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, but
I get where you're coming from, and look, I was the person who defended The Nun. So
The Nun? I like The Nun. What's wrong with who doesn't like The Nun?
I like The Nun too.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like, for me, Shane Black is better than this. As the person who will go to bat saying Iron Man 3 is the best film in that trilogy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is. This is not a Shane Black movie. And I think that's the thing that bothers me the most is you can see that the film was taken away from him.
Yeah, I mean, there's shades of a Shane Black movie, but and there's shades of a Fred Dekker movie. As both of you know, I'm a huge Fred Dekker person. I'm actually like one of like 5 people on this earth that like will give RoboCop 3 a pass. That's how much I like Fred Dekker so much. So to hear that, so to see this movie that was taken away from them, and to only see shades of it where you're like, it kind of resembles a Black and Decker movie. It kind of feels at times like a like the Monster Squad movie. It kind of does, but but the problem is, yeah, in the third act, you're kind of just yawning. You're waiting for stuff to happen. And then the third act has like the worst CGI I've seen in a movie in forever. And I saw the final Sharknado.
They did not have enough time to finish that. They were hired very late in the day.
I know, but that's just like what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, I think the Predator stuff at the end of the movie just doesn't work. However, I will say, getting to my positives on this movie, I pretty much loved the first 2/3 of this movie. Like, I was pretty much with it. Like, I was like, okay, I kind of feel for Rory, although the way they portray his sensory problem is not really how it works. Yeah, it's not really that big of an issue.
Yeah, it's very what's the word? It's just very not. It's just like so misguided in what they try to do with it, right?
Well, they make it more into like he has a problem with like loud noises, which that is the problem, but that's not the reason why. Again, you know what? Fuck it. I could nitpick everything that's wrong with the autism portrayal in this movie. Fuck this. I can't. I will be here all day if I keep talking about it.
No, and that's fair, man. I get it. Like I said, look, I'm glad you guys like it. I would never actually shit on you guys for liking the movie. You know how I am.
Yeah.
I just can't get behind a studio who cut this movie to shreds the way that they did, and treated Shane Black the way that they did, and did the things that they did to it.
Oh, yeah.
That to me, at the end of the day, that's everything wrong with this movie, and that's why this movie is not working. And it's why I'm not enjoying it, and it's why I'm so frustrated, because I wanted to love this movie to pieces, and I didn't get a chance to do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying this is like an incredible cut. I'm kind of more on the side of where you were for Justice League, Patrick, because I think you actually did enjoy Justice League, if I remember, or you liked parts of it.
I liked parts of it, but as a whole, it is not a very good movie.
I think that's how I feel about Predator, is that there are some really great bits. I mean, my favorite scene, and I actually wrote this down as a note, just so I wouldn't forget. But my big favorite scene in the movie is when Quinn and Rory are sitting and talking and having that heart-to-heart father-son moment, where you expect, Quinn to be like, no, it's okay, you are the son I wanted to be. But really, Quinn is like, well, we didn't get to both be what we wanted to be. And on top of that, Rory asked him, what's the difference between a soldier and a killer? And what Quinn says, you're only a killer if you enjoy it. That's great dialogue. That's awesome. There's just not enough of that. And then you hear like glimpses of what Keegan-Michael Key and Thomas Jane's character were, and you're like, I want to be emotionally invested in that. Like, that's real. Right. That sounds really cool.
You know what's crazy is that the way they talked about this movie at Comic-Con, I really believe that was what we were going to get. And there's all this stuff about this like dysfunctional family of guys, and I was so excited, man. Like, everything about this just screamed that I couldn't wait for it. Like, it was going to be great, and everything about it was going to be wonderful, and it just wasn't. Like, everything about this movie just doesn't work in any discernible way, and it's not any of the movie that Shane Black promised the fans.
Yeah, and I love the idea that the loonies, are going against the Predator or Predators, I love that idea because and at times you get to see glimmers of that working. Like you get to see like when they're fighting, like when they're going up against the Pred Dogs, it kind of works. I wish the shot of Nebraska shooting one of the dogs in the head was like better framed because it looks so photoshopped. But then but I still liked the team. I don't remember their names. That's fair. That's fair. I don't remember their names, but I still like this team. I would love to have seen them more.
There was some great casting, yeah.
Yeah,
it's amazing casting. I just wish the movie reflected it.
And Keegan-Michael Key is really making the most of his character, even though it doesn't come across that in the screenplay or in the direction or from scene to scene.
He is arguably the standout in the movie with Thomas Jane. I feel like the two of them are the ones who stand out the most.
And Trevante Rhodes, is that correct? I might be. Trevante Rhodes. I thought all three of them were the standouts. Boyd Holbrook is doing the best he can. He's just not given that much.
Mm-hmm. He's standard hero, soldier, a fortune character.
I mean, the biggest problem with his character is we're told everything about him rather than shown.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, the whole wife scene where she's like describing him as a soldier and then as a terrible husband, like that's like exposition much. Like okay, well now we know everything about McKenna, even though you could have just shown us. Like
and that's it was a terribly underused Yvonne. Sorry, from Chuck.
I don't. Good luck.
Yeah, Yvonne Tremansky.
Yvonne Tremansky.
What the hell? And there's another one. Her character's in the movie, and then she's not.
And she's not. Yeah. No resolution.
Again, there's no resolution, and that's everything about this movie is so frustrating that there's so much going on, and yet nothing is happening because there's no payoff to anything.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest problem. And now the worst part is for people like you guys who like the movie, even if you don't like the third act, you're never even going to get resolution to whatever that ending is because there's no way that they're going to make a sequel to this unless it blows up overseas.
I like this movie, but I could care less about that ending. That is dreadful.
I can't believe that they even dared to end the movie this way. And this is what I said last week, and this is why I can't get behind this movie. They are trying to turn Predator into a superhero franchise because Fox isn't interested in the Alien film. They're only interested in trying to mimic what Marvel is doing.
Well,
it's really frustrating to me that they feel this need that they have to give someone a superhero suit just to compete with them.
Well,
this movie,
right. I mean that was like one of the I was like when I was watching, I was like, oh, is it an alien egg? Is it like something cool? And it's like, no, it's just a Predator suit. It just has an Iron Man suit, and it's like, oh, what are you gonna do with that? It's like, well, we'll guess we'll never know.
Yeah, Nick and I were even like thinking, oh my God, are we getting an Alien versus Predator tease? No,
I thought so. It was that or Arnold, and yet they gave us
Arnold. It's supposed to be Arnold.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Arnold.
Not in that like specific situation, but he was supposed to be at the end.
Yeah,
if everyone's read the original script.
Yeah, he was supposed to show up, and again, Jacob Tremblay was supposed to be the hero. And that's the thing that bothers me the most. And like everything about that ending doesn't work and makes me dislike the movie that much more because it feels so tacked on and so unnecessary and so unneeded and so against everything that this franchise is at this point that it just shits on it to me.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Can I ask? Well, sorry, but let me ask this question. Do you think the Predator should have been more horror-based or thriller-based like the original was?
Not necessarily. I mean, you can make it an action franchise. That's clearly what they've done at this point. Would I have liked it to be more horror-based, especially because it was based on Halloween? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that was going to be my thing is if people were kind of looking at the Predator franchise and hoping this one that Shane Black would somehow turn in a sci-fi horror film like Ridley Scott has done with the Alien movies, I kind of would have said, look, guys, I like the Predator a lot, but it's not really a horror movie. Like, it's not really, it's structured like a horror movie, but it's really not a horror franchise. Like, this is more of an action-based franchise than a horror franchise. Like, we kind of need to get over that part, if that was what you were hung up on before. Sorry, fans.
Right.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm sorry.
No, man. Like I said, like, I get why people might enjoy this movie, and I wish I could have, but the thing that hurts the most is it hurt me. And maybe that sounds stupid, but as someone who's invested so much time in this franchise for so many years, reading so many comics and so many books, and I really have, like, a connection to this franchise, and I felt like they just fucking killed it. And it's the first time that I'm really ready to just throw in the towel with this series. And I say that as someone who has liked most of the Alien films to varying degrees, and all the Predator films to varying degrees for the most part. So it just really hurts that this is the first time I feel fully fucking betrayed by this property outside of AVP Requiem. Like, this, I feel straight betrayed by it. And that big part of that too is that the Shane Black baggage with it, because I love Shane Black so much. I was expecting something that I didn't get.
Yeah, go ahead, Gene.
No. You could say your thought.
I'll say this. There are parts that I like. I love how chaotically violent this movie is. I mean, in the span of like 7 frames, I think there's a scene, or in the span of like 7 seconds, there's a scene where the mega predator comes in and decapitates like 5 or 6 different heads. I don't know. There's part of me that really loved it because of the chaotic, violent nature of it, and maybe, upon multiple viewings, I'll like it less, because that was the thing about Suicide Squad for me. Was it took me about a couple more tries after that first one to realize, okay, this is a bit of a mess. Like, the problems that are with the Predator, or the problems with Suicide Squad, are more severe than what I was thinking. But as of right now, as I stand, as we're on the record right now on this podcast, I would recommend it, but only with an asterisk saying it's times really funny, at times it's really unintentionally funny, and if you are very queasy on violence, this movie, don't see it. But the other thing too is, I give a lot of shit to movies that use a lot of CGI squibs. Looking at you, Expendables. The blood squibs in this looked really good, even though it's still CGI. It looks really, like, all the effects look really good, except for the ending. All the effects look really good. And
can I also bring up real quick, like, if I'm going to talk about things that really disappointed me, one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Just about this real quick. One of the things I was most excited about, maybe this is so weird that I was so excited to see, of all people, Jake Busey in this movie. I love that we were getting a tie to Predator 2. I love that they were going to be like, he was the son of his father in that movie, Gary Busey, and that you were going to do something with that. I was like, I love the idea of this kid trying to grow up to figure out what killed his father, and, like, what does that do to someone, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a Predator movie. And yet he's shown for 2 scenes to say his name and be a weird, awkward science guy.
Yeah.
Like,
it was like, it reminded me of was it like in Live Free or Die Hard, where they have like the same last names as the FBI agents,
right?
In the first one, it's just like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool.
But it was his son, and we never explore that.
Yeah, it's never
addressed, and that bothers me, because I would have loved to see that. And that's just another character that is just written out of the movie because the movie never needs him anymore.
Yeah.
And he's never killed. That's the thing. We just never see him again.
He's just,
yeah.
Like,
so, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I just feel like this movie hurts me on a personal level, and that maybe I need to let it go, but it feels like it wronged me.
Right.
No, well, here's the thing. I can understand where you're coming from, because I was in that same place with Justice League and Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Well, it's good to talk to people about it.
Yeah, it's good group therapy.
Yeah, I know. I should probably see a psychiatrist. Is what they're saying.
Yeah. No, but I'm serious though. Like, it helps to talk about these movies. I mean, we can all pretty much unanimously agree that Fantastic Four was terrible. Like, we can, or Fan Four Stick. Yeah, we can all agree on that end. But I mean, you like Justice League, and you didn't hate it, but you weren't okay with it, Gene. And I was the one that truly was like, this is a total disaster. Burn it all. Burn every reel. Okay, maybe that's a little too extreme, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I don't know. I thought in terms of movies that were edited to shit and movies where the filmmaker just like got kicked out of the editing room for whatever reason,
or his dog destroyed an apartment.
Yeah, that too. Despite all that, I felt like, I enjoyed it enough to where I can give it a pass, because I feel like Fred Dekker and Shane Black were trying so hard to make a B movie. And maybe, maybe in the original script that wasn't the case, but from what I could tell, that's what it came across, is that they were trying to make this B movie, which was totally fine with me. Because I genuinely like B movies. Hell, I'm making a promo for a B movie.
Yeah. Everyone donate to that.
Please, I'll get to that in a little bit. So yeah, I liked the movie, and I don't know why, no, I understand why, people were not okay with it. I completely understand, because I mean, even the ending, to me, I was shocked by not only what the ending was, but just how badly it was made. Like, just everything about it was just bad. Like, it was just so ill-conceived. Not even for a Predator, just for a movie in general, it's just bad. It's just like watching the Van Forstick ending.
Yep.
So yeah, Patrick, I can see where you're coming from, and Gene, I can see where you're coming from. But for me, I'm just like in the middle, where I'm like, I see it both ways. And you know what? And hopefully, as our good friend Diego has already started spreading the hashtag, release the Shane Black cut. Release the Shane Black cut, Fox.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we have any more thoughts on the Predator? Because I'm kind of just
kill it with that, and now I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. One more thing. I'm okay with autism representation in movies, and there were glimmers of where I was like, this is okay. Like, I felt for Rory as a character during certain parts, like seeing Rory with the Predator mask. I know some fans are screaming at the theater because, like, what the fuck? Why is a kid wearing a Predator mask? But honestly, I got like what they were going for with that, and I thought that was actually really well paid off. What they did with Rory in the Predator mask, like, I thought that really worked. Again, I could talk all day and probably get some of the things, and maybe people of different opinions. I know you and I know all three of us have friends on Twitter and in real life that are autistic.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm completely on left field here, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just I'll say this: it's worth the 90 minutes, but I don't know if it's worth seeing in the theater. That's what I'll say. Just watch it as a curiosity, and then leave it alone. Yeah, that's all I'll say. That's all I'm saying. I'm done.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment, I would say.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we did have one more person that wanted to chime in on the podcast. Someone from the retrospective, Justin, wanted to chime in. We'll put him we'll put his segment at the end. But does anybody else have any more thoughts on Predator before we move on to the hashtags?
No, I think that is about it. And I am actually having to get ready to go, gentlemen.
That's
my
fine.
headphones are dying on me.
Okay, that's fine. All right, Gene.
No, I really wish they would have went with the script as it was. I think that is leagues interesting, and I like that movie than what we have now. So yeah. So
All right. Okay. All right. Well, Patrick, why don't you take it away with your Twitter handle? That's what I meant to say.
No, I knew what you meant. Well, you guys can find me on Twitter at PJ_Campbell, at Facebook at Patrick Campbell _PJ. Just follow along, and I'm going to be doing some more stuff soon. So just pay attention to my Twitter page, and I'm looking forward to unveiling more soon.
Cool.
Gene.
You can find me on Gene9892 Twitter and Instagram, and go to Waffle Press and log and subscribe. Hopefully, yeah.
All right. Well, I'll talk about the Bear Gator thing in the next segment.
Okay.
Thanks, gentlemen, for being on the show, and we will see you all soon for shit. I don't know what's coming out in September. I don't know. This was it for me.
The clock with the house in or the wall, the house with the clock in its walls.
Yeah,
whatever.
That kind of.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
All right.
There's one
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're gonna move on.
Tell me about the mission. Did you see anything unusual?
Go.
It's above our pay grade.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Youth Critic.
I get a cookie now?
Podcast. I'm here with Justin Mayhew from the Retrospective.
Look, I get it. Something went down
Hello,
in Mexico.
everybody.
Nobody wants any witnesses.
So we got Justin calling in.
We need to
and
know
I'm
if you and your
basically
man
using
pose a
my cell
threat.
phone, and I'm using it to
We're
hotwire the
rangers.
mixrophone.
Hey, Baxley, if your mom's vagina were a video game, it'd be rated E for everyone.
This is I should really take a picture.
Posing a
of
threat. Kind of the fucking point.
I know. So we talked about the Predators movies before on the retrospective. So
Right.
now, what do you think of the Predator?
Okay, well, it's interesting. I had great fun going out to see the movie, but the movie itself was actually pretty bad.
Okay, describe the going to the movie part.
Well, it was nice to go out and hang around with my brother, and then we go see a big, dumb action movie, and it does do the big, dumb action, right? It does do big, dumb action, but then along about the beginning of the third act, he fell asleep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's not a very well made movie, but I think I told you this on Friday that because I saw it like Thursday night, opening night.
Right.
I thought it's a mess, but I had a grin the entire time while watching it. I loved how chaotically violent this movie was.
I just have some technical issues to start with. Like 90% of this movie is at night.
Yeah, what's the problem with that?
Well, everything is so muddy, and now that with the digital projectors, digital projectors don't have the lumens that the old analog projectors once did, so everything gets kind of washed out and kind of muddy. That nighttime shoots, you really need the crisper blacks and the better highlights that we haven't quite achieved yet. And so the movies start to look washed out, especially if you do a movie like this where everything is murky and creepy in the dark, intentionally. And so this is something they really need to start taking into account, because like 99% of us are watching them on digital projectors anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I got you.
Yeah. So it was kind of a thing to try to, actually see the Predator in this, murky gray nightscape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, Nick and I saw the movie, and I mean, I didn't notice any projecting issues.
No, I'm just saying over in general that our projector was fine. It's just that the modern digital projectors just don't have the brightness yet that the old-fashioned projectors used to be able to put out. You know, that the lumen quality isn't there yet, that they're still working on making that image as bright as they once were. You know what I mean?
Yep, I gotcha.
And the other thing is, you know, the computer animated blood, and it's obviously computer animated blood, and it just looks like, you know, Picasso or Monet, you know, spraying some alizarin crimson across the screen instead of an actual effect. To me, you know, I can see the digital nature of their blood hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looks a lot more realistic than normal. Like, I mean, I don't know. Nowadays, R-rated movies, they have the blood spurt, and then the blood kind of disappears in like a frame later.
Yeah.
So to see it like drip blood, and then, you know, and then maybe like see the make out of a silhouette of like intestines fall out or something.
Right.
I'm just like, you know, this movie's really trying to be hard R. Like, it really is trying to be more than just, you know, hey, we could have either done a PG-13 or we could have done an R, but, you know, yeah, it feels like this was always R from the get-go. Yeah,
and I appreciate the effort, but I do think also that the characters are pretty thin. I and my brother were talking about this, and we said that, you know, the things that are supposed to be, you know, super high action, I was kind of laughing at, you know, and then when they had something humorous like Keegan-Michael Key would come out and start doing his jokes, I was kind of like, okay, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I like Keegan-Michael Key. I like the idea of the characters, because I really like the idea of juxtaposing, you know, from the Predator, we had like this elite, you know, macho, we got this all covered group that gets butchered in the first movie, and now we have this basically ragtag, misfit, loony bin.
It's a callback to the Dirty Dozen, if you're aware of that movie from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a joke they did where the scientist, she's sleeping in the motel room after she got darted by she darted herself accident, and when she wakes up, there they are, and it's like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, you know?
Yep. Yeah, and it ends on a very ill-timed joke. Like, there's a couple jokes in this movie that are just not like 2016 friendly anymore, or 2018 friendly. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. 2016 called. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't know what I'm thinking. Years. You know. Damn years, getting me all mixed up. But yeah. But I don't know. Like, here's the thing that's shocking people is, you know, after the first like few minutes, I was like, you know, it's not very well done, but I'm like, you know, I'm with it. Like, you know, once we get to the loony bus, I'm like, you know what, I kind of like these characters. I kind of want to know more about them, and we don't ever learn more about them, and that's kind of the flaw of the movie, is that we basically just are introduced to them. But I don't know, for the whole like 2/3 of the movie until and we're kind of in spoiler territory, till
spoilers,
Rory McKenna gets kidnapped, and now he's, you know, and now he's with Sterling K. Brown, the villain, who is just basically typical B movie villain.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he's like, his whole motivation is all in exposition.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's trying to chew the scenery. God bless him. He's trying to do it, you know. But his lines are kind of clunky, aren't they? You know.
It's too much scenery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, things kind of happen. Like they it's all the rage nowadays that Rory, the child, is autistic, and that's, everybody's doing that nowadays, and it seems kind of faddish, if you know what I mean. That
Faddish?
everybody has an autistic kid, and my I have good friends that are autistic, and I've been told that I might be myself, right?
Right.
But there are things about it that I find annoying, that they make it, it's the Rain Man thing, that you're autistic, so now you're some sort of a weird prodigal genius. And from my experience, is that's just a different kind of a regular old person. I haven't found that autistic people are that different than anybody else, really. So this whole weird thing that he can remember where all the chess pieces are and shows some kind of, gifted extra thing. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to get over it,
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I am an autistic child, and
right.
I am no super genius or, particular. Like, if someone threw down a chessboard, I would be like, well, that's the end of the game.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess we got to reset the board now.
Yep. Want to do match 2?
Yeah, right. It's reovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I haven't, really had any kind of experience with, they have this weird idea that autistic people are suddenly some kind of weird, weird, strange savant kind of a thing. I'm not a big fan of that, and
I mean, there is a whole thing called savant syndrome.
Sure, but it's, people who are autistic and people who are not autistic can have savant tendencies,
Yeah. Well, it's a part of the spectrum, but still. I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that people who have some tendencies but aren't diagnosed can have savantism. And anyway, I think we're kind of getting off the track here. I apologize.
It's fine. I talked about this on the other segment.
Yeah. So, it's territory you've covered. So, then onward. I would just like to, how about this then? Mention the evolution weirdo crap they always do, that evolution is trying to make something perfect, when evolution has one goal, and one goal only, is to survive. So there's no, higher being. There is no better or lesser creature. If bacteria exist, and they do, and trees exist, and they do, and people exist, and they do, those are all successful evolutionary tactics. They're all just as valid as the other, and we're not better or worse than a bacterium. We all have survived, and that's what evolution and self-selection and those kind of things is about. Not being, a super guy or the next level of evolution. That is gobbledygook, and I find it quite irritating.
Yeah, and that was not, as far, from what I was told, is that it's not a massive part of the movie, or wasn't originally a massive part of the movie.
Right.
But then the reshoots, they made it like this big thing.
Yeah, they kept coming back to it.
Yeah, and you can tell it was added in later, because, I mean, they're literally like in split-second scenes, like talking about it.
Yeah, and I think my final thing right now, I mean, we could have a longer discussion about this in another later retrospective, because I have a lot of things that I found interesting to talk about with this movie. But I think the last big thing I found is the way the characters kind of turn up when you need them, and then do things they have to without, any prior explanation. Like, the scientist is as capable of a commando as the rest of the loony bins. She's out there shooting her AR-15 carbine just as effectively as the rest of the military dudes, right?
Right.
And then the pit bull, what a gorgeous animal that dog was, just shows up just at the right time to alert Rory about the predator dogs showing up, and then they ditch him, and the beautiful, cute, really awesome, cute little pit bull guy is just kind of thrown by the wayside plot-wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of happened, and I was kind of frustrated with that. I wanted more of the dog to show up and do some comic relief or something,
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, those are my main, complaints. And I mean, I didn't fall asleep. I watched the whole thing and got through it and appreciated some of the setups and the designs. So I think that if you're an action kind of a guy, I think you generally like it. Would you not agree with that?
I agree. It's a messy movie. It was torn apart in the editing room. However,
yes.
I'll say this.
Right.
I still had fun, but maybe not waste the price of admission on it. But maybe rent it, because it's still a fun movie. Like, in terms of movies that were torn apart in the editing room and then put back in.
Right.
This was the most enjoyable of the bunch.
Yeah. So you're saying that the studio kind of came in and kind of interfered in the post-production?
Oh, yes. Yes. Like, there was one, really bad test screening, and and then the studio kind of panicked, and then they rejiggered the whole movie last spring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what happened. It didn't...
Yeah,
But the thing is, the way I would go forward is in doing reshoots, because this gives reshoots a bad name.
Yeah.
Like, the way I would go forward with reshoots nowadays, if you're gonna do them, is, and I think we actually now, because we have so many good cases now, if reshoots are to basically remake a movie or restructure or redo the movie in a completely different light, then we should be worried. When it's to fix a movie, actually fixing the movie's problems, like World War Z, fixing that third act, or Rogue One, fixing that third act, or trying to flesh out the characters more.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of films have gone through reshoots. It's not uncommon.
Almost every blockbuster goes through reshoots.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So it's not in and of itself a red flag, but if you have a big, huge set of reshoots and then editing issues and stuff like that, then, as you say, that could put up some red flags, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I agree, and I would say, just in passing, that it's worth renting on Redbox or Netflix when it comes out on that or whatever, But, paying $15 to go see the theater, probably not.
Yeah. Sorry, Justin.
Oh, well, it was fun to get out and do it, and then I also love to talk about movies. So, yeah, for me, being a movie nerd, I think it was worth it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I think I've said my piece, brother, so...
Yeah, do you want to talk about Barrigator?
I guess we'll just mention the the GoFundMe, and I am going to get together with my sister, and anybody that contributes $100 to the GoFundMe, we are going to make you a custom baby Barrigator puppet.
Awesome.
So, if you want a custom, awesome little baby Barrigator mutant monster, let us know and contribute $100, and we will handcraft you over Christmas a baby Barrigator. Okay?
That's great. Awesome.
All right.
I'll put the link in the description below, listeners, and please check it out, and please help if you can. I'm also the producer of that project as well, so if you can, please donate, and if you can't donate, please share it to all your friends and family. Any help will, any help. Yeah, any help will, suffice. Thanks, everyone. You can find me on Twitter at MovieKale. You can also follow the show at KHZ Network, and you can also follow any information on this show at at the Youth Critic at the Youth Critic. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back with you next week, and I will continue posting links about Barrigator as many updates as I can. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back with you next week.
Predators just don't sit around making hats out of rib cages. They conquered space. But that's not what's on the horizon.
Should I be worried? Riley.
I think you know what is on the ship. and the ultimate predators.
Light him up!
We may die.
We're still here. So come and get us, motherfucker.